here we have Dennis Prager and his fireside chat. Um, this is a clip from one of his episodes. If they can scare you, they can control you. Let's listen to his trashy opinions.
So, folks, a thought briefer than normal because we'll have time for more questions this way. As it turns out, I am in love with liberty. A lot of people are, not everybody by any means. People prefer to be taken care of than to be free.
And you know what he means by taken care of. Uh, you know, people on welfare, which, not a lot of people prefer being on welfare. People on welfare, they would love to be able to, make an income and not, subsist on the meager crumbs that the government gives. But for people like Prager, uh, he believes that, these people just love it. I mean, there may be a few who, you know, truly prefer, just living off of welfare and not doing anything. But how is that truly any different than, you know, uh, corporate owners and rich people living off of government handouts and subsidies and not doing a damn thing?
That is a fact about human nature, which is unfortunate. A lot of facts about human nature are unfortunate. That's another subject and one I've addressed. So America is descending into for the first time in its history into a form of tyranny. There's more and more control over what people say, which is the ultimate freedom, the freedom to say what you want, even about what you think.
You're talking about like Ron DeSantis and other Republicans banning books or people being able to wear what they want or look how they want or be who they want, transitioning into the person that they want to be. Or, Republicans passing bills to prevent teachers from being able to talk about, pronouns or gender or sexuality. Huh. No, he's gonna say it's the left wing doing that when it's in reality the right wing doing that. Like in the state of Tennessee, they passed a bill to stop gender affirming care, and those who have transitioned are required to detransition, which I don't even know how that's gonna happen.
What you say privately. Stanford University now has a system where you can snitch on your fellow student or on a professor if you heard them say something that might be objectionable.
Oh, just like in Florida, where you can sue teachers for talking about um, pronouns or get them fired. Um, in Florida, you also have what, like the anti-woke bill, like the Stop Woke Act, where you can't talk to people, or you can't make white people feel like they're uh, teachers cannot talk in such a way that white people feel bad for being white. So if you talk about like slavery and how black people were enslaved by white people, that's illegal because it may make some white kids feel bad.
To progressives, and or even just objectionable to any decent person. But that an official format for snitching on your fellow student, this didn't even exist at the height of the fear of communism in the early 1950s.
Wait, does he mean like during the McCarthy era where everybody that was quote unquote patriotic was turning in anybody that had any slight communist ideas, and there was even laws passed where teachers weren't allowed to teach communism, like in Ohio. And then they're using that bill also to make it where you can't teach quote unquote woke history or whatever. So it's funny how people like Dennis Prager claim that it's the left wing that's doing all of the like book banning, censoring of free speech and such, when it has always been the right wing doing that.
So America is no longer the free country that it was for all of its existence. And I'm analyzing constantly, how does that happen? How do
Well, America is not free anymore since its entire existence. When has like everybody in the United States been free throughout the entire existence of the United States? Okay, we can go back to the very founding when black people were enslaved to be property. Women were not allowed to vote. Poor white people were also not allowed to vote back in the very beginning because the founding fathers just wanted it to be rich, white, landowning males that had the ability to vote. I mean, that was one of the reasons for the Salem witch trials. Actually, uh, a bunch of men were dying uh, who had no sons, so the women were inheriting the property, and various men were like, I don't like that these women have property, which give them voting ability, or at least some kind of influence. Let's accuse them of being witches.
people let freedom dissipate? And I have one answer that I have not addressed directly. I've talked about the subject, but not about it in relationship to losing the ability to be free. And that is by the authorities and the elites using fear. The easiest way to have people give up their rights is to make them afraid.
Yep, and this is why the right wing loves their satanic panic. If it's not about like Dungeons and Dragons or some type of music or what people are reading, it's about certain groups of people. Now, it used to be about gay people. Oh no, um, uh, gay people are trying to turn your kids gay. Now it's, oh no, trans people are trying to turn your kids trans. Right wingers love the fear mongering. Yeah, because they know, hey, keep these people afraid and they're going to be easier to manipulate. And that is uh that is true. When people are in a panic mode, they're less likely to be logical because that's just how it is when people are panicked. Uh, their logic centers are slightly diminished, so you know, they'll believe whatever you tell them.
And that has been done by every tyranny in history, and it is being done in America today and has been for the last few years. Just to name a few examples, be afraid, of course, of COVID. And then you lose your right to leave your house or to eat in a restaurant, to shop in a regular store, to send your child to school. These are massive, massive losses of freedom.
No. Wow. It is so astounding how, like, right wingers have, like, no understanding of, like, during a pandemic, yeah, there are going to be some restrictions you're going to have to deal with in order to help prevent the spread of the pandemic and to, make it go away. So, yeah, you're going to have to, quarantine and, not go to school or various public places so that, um, eventually an immunity can be gained so that um, we can eventually go back out into public. This has always happened with pandemics where people have quarantined, gone through some kind of lockdown, eventually made a vaccine, or developed an immunity. Like, sadly, like, you know, the Black Plague, a lot of people had to die in order for natural immunity, in order to take place and, be immune to the Black Plague. Like, what? I think like 30% of Europe survived the Black Plague. It was worse in China where it started, um, but nowadays we can develop a vaccine in order to prevent, massive amount of people from dying. But right wingers don't care about that. All they care about is themselves. They think that, oh, I have to stay inside in order to help protect my community from, dying. That's an assault on my freedom. I want my hair cut.
And people accepted it. Now, why? The only way to get people to give up the freedom to leave their house, basically, I mean, that's a big deal, is with massive fear. You leave your house, you will die or you will kill somebody.
Even during the Black Plague, there were people who understood, oh, this is something that is spreading from town to town. Maybe we should quarantine ourselves so that it doesn't spread. So those villages would prevent people from entering and exiting their village in order to help to try to stem the spread of the Black Plague. They had they didn't truly understand what was the cause of the Black Plague, but they had some idea that it was spreading through people going from town to town, so they went on a lockdown.
That's a big fear. So a massive loss of liberty took place in every country except Sweden, which I hold in great esteem because it didn't do this. And they're the proof that it was not necessary to do.
No, they weren't proof, because towards the end, they started getting a bunch of COVID outbreaks, and they also still had a loss of revenue for their businesses because people still didn't want to go out because they were like, hey, I'm still worried about COVID. I don't want to frequent very many public places if I don't have to.
And that's the vehicle to get people to give up liberty, frighten them. I'll give you more examples. How do you get people to all get vaccinated, even if they're healthy, and it's of minimal help to them, and even might not be of any help to them, as it.
Okay, vaccines are always a help to the individual getting it, as well as a help to the people around them, because that means the individual themselves is less likely to get sick, which means the people around them are less likely to get sick as well. And if everybody in your household gets vaccinated, then everybody in that household is less likely to get sick, which means they're less likely to get other people in their community sick. Um, for a person who is supposedly is of a religion that is about like love and caring about other people, he surely does not care about his community whatsoever.
It's coming out now. Again, it'll save your life, and if it doesn't save your life, it may save the lives of the elderly in your life. It'll save your grandma's life. And
Yeah, because elderly people are usually have a weaker immune system. The same with like immunocompromised people and babies, which is why COVID affected a lot of elderly people in the beginning, and then like towards the middle, it started affecting a lot more kids because those people had a weaker immune system. Kids obviously have a weaker immune system. It's why they get sick a lot. Same with elderly people. A lot of them get sick a lot because they have a weaker immune system, which means viruses and bacteria are more likely to affect them and make them sick.
What did people give up? They gave up their right to bodily autonomy. They gave up their right to even work. People in America, at least, were fired from their jobs, lost their ability to make an income. People in the armed services, the healthiest people we have, generally speaking, they would be kicked out of the Army or the Navy or the Air Force or the Marines if they didn't get vaccinated.
Yeah, but if you refuse any vaccine in the military, you're going to get kicked out because that is a requirement of the military is to be vaccinated. If they say, hey, take this vaccine, you're going to be like, okay, here's my arm, because that's part of the military. They know that if their members get sick, they're going to have a less effective fighting force, which is wild because you think this dude is pretty, kind of pro, military and like U.S. empire. So, and and also with the right wing. So you would think they would want their, the military members to be vaccinated, and they have no qualms against all the other vaccines that the military is required to get, which they're required to get a lot of vaccines because, lo and behold, the military goes around the world, and if you're not vaccinated against various diseases from around the world, you're going to get sick, and you're going to get other people sick, and then your combat force is going to be less effective.
Again, the healthiest group, athletes, professional athletes, or even university athletes, kicked off the team, expelled if you didn't get a vaccine. The all done.
Yeah, because the athletes were always in close quarters with each other, like during training, being in the locker rooms, and stuff like that. So they wanted their people to be vaccinated so that these people wouldn't, die and they didn't have their athletes. Athletes are a big investment for, athletic owners and stuff like that. So, it's reasonable why they would want them to be vaccinated. A lot of them didn't get vaccinated and died. Um, COVID does cause myocarditis, which is like an inflammation of the heart. So a lot of these people basically like, had a weakening of the heart, and then being an athlete, which causes, you to use your heart a whole lot more than normal people. Um, it is no wonder why a number of these people basically, died during training or while on the court.
Done because of the inducing of fear. This is the way. The next one, there's another example. You see this fire here? It's gas powered. It is double the price it was a year ago. And how do you get people to pay enormous prices for energy, where in America we were just a few years ago, we were exporting energy. We had so much energy. In America, energy could be incredibly inexpensive and not hurt people financially. I could afford it, but a lot of people can't.
Yeah, and also depends on where you're at. Some places have more affordable electricity prices. Some places have more expensive electricity prices.
And the reason? Fear of what? Climate change, global warming. Again,
Yeah, that's not what is getting utilities companies to jack up their prices and stuff. I mean, look at Texas. It wasn't fear of climate change that caused the gas companies to jack up their prices during their winter storm. It was because the utilities company and the power grid was not um, uh, suited for such weather because they're an independent power grid because they want to be, you know, freer or whatever. And so those people had to suffer from uh, the gas pipes freezing and stuff, which jacked up the
And
cost
a
of gas.
fear is enabling people, in this case, not just to lose their freedom, because more and more things are being banned in California, where I live. Within, what is it, by 2035? What is the year that they have said you can't buy a new gas powered car? So that's 12 years from now.
Yeah, because we are transitioning from gas-powered cars to electric cars. This was always going to happen. This always happened where once new, better technology is created, we ban or get rid of the older technology because the newer technology is either more efficient or better for the environment or something else. And it's like you can't stop this whatsoever. I mean, you can try to stem the progress of technology, but you're just on the losing end whatsoever because no matter what, it is going to happen.
Telling people what type of car they can buy, how can you do it? By fear. If you drive a gas powered car, you are contributing to the death of biological life on Earth because it is an existential threat to life.
It's like when we had leaded gasoline, you know, during the time we were like, hey, lead in gasoline makes gasoline better. And then we realized, oh, lead in gasoline is bad for the environment because it throws out a bunch of lead into the air, and when people breathe that, it's bad for them. And then eventually we banned leaded gasoline and went to just, unleaded gasoline. That's why you always see signs that says unleaded gasoline. People like Dennis Prager would be like, oh no, I want my leaded gasoline. You're taking away my freedom by not allowing me to buy leaded gasoline and banning it from being created. These people just want to regress society back to whatever point they thought was best, and that's just pretty crazy. It shows how illogical these people are that they want to be so regressive towards technology.
It's not true. It was as untrue as the masking was, and as so much, and lockdowns were. But it doesn't matter. People believe it, and in the name of frightening people, you could take away basic liberties, and of course take away their money as well. What car you drive, how much you can heat or air condition your home. I mean, the list is almost endless.
Yeah, there's always been regulations. There will always be regulations. There's nothing you can do to stop that. That's just part of living in a society.
That's all you have to do is get people scared. But you might say, well, what if the fear is real? So I'd like you to know that for the rest of the fireside chat, and I hope you'll want to watch it or listen. If you're on,
Oh, this is the end of the. If they can scare you, they can control you. I guess give me liberty or give me death. It's just Dennis Prager doing what Dennis Prager loves to do, give trash opinions and complain because he's a rich person with too much time on his hands.